Hey everyone, Brickhouse here, and DC's got a problem. DC has a huge problem, and that problem being is they released Shazam earlier this year, which bombed horribly at the box office. They just reached The Flash, which is totally underperforming at the box office right now. Later this year, you have the Blue Beetle coming out, which that doesn't look very good either. And then you have Aquaman 2 toward the end of the year. Now, of those four movies total $1.1 billion. And that's just the budget that we know. That doesn't include marketing and advertising. So when you look at what has happened so far this year with Shazam and The Flash, one can surmise that Blue Beetle, it's not going to draw. Especially when you put out a trailer, and if you watch the whole trailer through and you hear a Batman reference, and when Batman is referenced, you hear Batman's a fascist. And then Aquaman 2 is not going to repeat the box office from Aquaman 1. It's just not. Especially when you have Amber Heard involved in the movie, and we all know what a lightning rod she is. So this article from Variety touches on a lot of these things. In the climax of The Flash, Barry Allen watches helplessly as his timeline hopping escapades cause several other superhero universes to careen into each other and become obliterated in the process. Ironically, Warner Brothers is facing almost an identical dilemma, and the stakes could be nearly as existential. The Flash is the second of four mega budgeted DC adaptations the studio is set to release this year, starting with Shazam Fury of the Gods in March, and followed by Blue Beetle and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom in August and December. Yet these movies were conceived and greenlit by an executive team that all have departed the studio. In their place, new DC Studios chief James Gunn and Peter Safran have announced they will reboot the DC franchise in 2025, starting with Gunn's Superman Legacy. That's left Warner's in one of the worst rock and a hard place conundrums of memory. Its 2023 slate of DC films are now orphans in a moribund cinematic universe, but the studio still needs audiences to see them on a blockbuster scale. It's perhaps an unavoidable but terrible case of timing, says the source at a rival studio. Audiences don't feel like they have to invest 2 hours of their life because it's not going to matter going forward. And yes, things have not been going very well. The production budgets and likely marketing spends for these four films will cost between 1.2 and 1.1 and 1.2 billion in total. I'm thinking it's going to be a little bit more north of that 1.2. Because I don't think the Flash's budget, what they've released, is the real budget. Shazam 2 has already bombed, earning a feeble 133 million globally. The Flash is open to a mere 55 million in the US and Canada, grossing 135.7 worldwide as of June 19th. That's this past Monday. And they're already trying to say, "Oh, well, the Flash is going to hit 75 million domestically by the end of this week." Because there's nothing out there to challenge it right now. It's going to have a little bit of a pop, a hump, a jump. I don't think that's going to happen. And nowhere near what a film of this caliber and cost needs to approach breaking even. The movie should be opening to 120 million domestic, says an industry veteran who's worked on many major campaigns. This is an unmitigated disaster. The Flash rollout faced unprecedented difficulties caused by its star, save for an appearance at a photos-only premiere event this month. Miller has been totally out of the public eye since August, when they apologized to everyone that I have alarmed and upset with my past behavior, including multiple allegations of misconduct, abuse, and assault, citing complex mental health issues as the reason. Pulling a Christopher Plummer and replacing Miller was a financial non-starter for Warner's. The actor who plays two versions of Barry is in particularly every scene of the film and often the only person on screen. The studio did have fair warning. Miller was caught on video in April 2020 choking a woman in Iceland months before The Flash went into production. To compensate for the absence of their problematic lead, Warner spent heavily on TV spots during the NBA Finals. Director Andy Muschietti did multiple interviews, universally praising Miller. January Gunn called the film one of the best superhero movies I've ever seen. Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav didn't bother qualifying, hyping The Flash as the best superhero movie outright at CinemaCon in April. When they called it the greatest superhero movie, if it's not correct, you're setting yourself up to fail, says an executive at a different rival studios. This environment, it's better to underpromise and overdeliver. Marvel's finding that out right now. Perhaps most ominous for Warner's, however, is the possibility that audiences are becoming blasé about cinematic universes altogether. You think? I think people are starting to get superheroed out. And that started... I don't think it started... not that long ago, probably right before the pandemic. The Eternals wasn't very good. Ant-Man and the Wasp wasn't very good. Doctor Strange, Mom didn't draw near what they thought. Thor, Love and Thunder didn't draw near what they thought. Even the Marvel Disney Plus series. Remember Hawkeye? I barely remember Hawkeye. WandaVision. WandaVision was decent, I thought. Didn't watch the Marvels. I watched Moon Knight. When you have a film set in a multiverse, it's asking the audience to recall past films instead of shutting off their brain and enjoying what's in front of them, says exhibitor relations analyst Jeff Bach. He notes the Flash's domestic opening weekend is on par with debuts for other titles that have been part of the wider DC universe, like Black Adam, 67, Aquaman, 68. That's millions. Whereas Joker and the Batman standalone films with zero connection to anything else open at 96 and 134 million respectively. Batman is so strong on its own, it doesn't really need to be tied down with these other characters, Bach says. But that is exactly what Gunn and Safran are planning. Muschietti is set to direct Batman the Brave and the Bold, one of 10 interconnected film and TV DC titles planned through roughly 2027, including Gunn's Superman. Moving forward, Warner's and DC must walk a painfully narrow path. Gunn said recently that the titular character of Blue Beetle is the first DCEU character. That's not what I would start off with personally, but, what do I know? Which could save the film from feeling like a lame duck, but also ties it to a cinematic universe that audiences have yet to embrace. Meanwhile, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom will conclude the old DC universe for good. But whether it can approach the 1.1 billion global take of 2018's Aquaman without a cinematic future is unclear. I think it'll do 3/4 of that, if it's lucky. Ultimately, the most important factor remains quality. Both DC and Marvel need to work on that. There can be audience fatigue when it comes to the obligation of having to watch 20 movies to understand a new one. This is one exec. but it doesn't matter when the movie is good. No, it does not matter when the movie is good. However, the movies have not been good, and when you also interject a bunch of woke identity politics, that doesn't help either. So comment down below. Tell me what you think. You think Warner's in some trouble here with the cash outlay of the 4 movies they have set for this year? And while you're at it, please smash that like button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell to get notified when my content goes live here on YouTube on a daily basis. Well, for the most part, on a daily basis. You can also reach me on Rumble and Odyssey. And as always, I thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. I will see you later.